Hello everyone, welcome back to Jungle Citizens. Today we are going to show you the third garden, but this one's going to be a little bit different because this is very much a work in progress garden. It's far larger than the other gardens and we've got a whole bunch of work to do. So what we've decided is we're going to try and show you the entire process of doing it. So there's going to be a bunch more episodes coming up on this garden, and we're basically going to take you through all the things that we need to do to slowly nurture this place to become very beautiful. Now, you've already seen elements of this garden at different times, so hopefully you can see how things have changed. You can see this is one of our favourite new spots that we have. So we've got this absolutely lovely Thai constellation, and it's just starting to come out with a new leaf that's really thickened up. Yeah, this guy that we planted is the Clerodendron levifolium, which used to be Clerodendron wallacea, and you remember these were completely bare rooted, and now you can see they're already coming again. So all of the ones that we've planted I think are doing really well, which is really fantastic, and you can see this brilliant leaf mulch covering on the ground. Also over here, just check this out. How is that for a monstrously cool flower? This is Takachantrarai, which is the black bat flower it's called, and it is utterly bizarre, but in the best way. So if you want weirdness in your tropical garden, a kind of Addams Family kind of vibe, that really is the plant to go for. Also behind me, it's worth taking a little look at this really lovely Papillilaminum cross magnificum hybrid, which is doing really, really well. But we're going to start today with just doing a little bit of maintenance on this side, and then we'll walk you through all the things that we need to do because there's so much work. Starting with this little thing. So here we've got one of these all these little things that we don't want, we take out. Now, really important point about weeding. Many plants are not bad and some plants are actually good. So there's something coming here. Just take a look. I don't know what it is. I've got to be honest, guys. I have no idea what it is, but it's obviously not a grass. And it could potentially be something nice. So I'm going to leave that there because I don't know what it is, and maybe it's going to be something good. If you're weeding, it is so valuable to start being able to identify plants broadly, quantifying what they are, and then choosing, okay, these things I'm going to take out, these things I'm not. Because if you end up taking everything out, you might be taking out trees, flowering plants, shrubs, all sorts of really valuable things. So here, these are our lovely, very large heliconias. And these ones, which are the ones that are still left over from the move, these had started growing in our beautiful previous location, and they've died back. But heliconias being heliconias, of course, there's new bits coming. So we're just going to take these out now to add to the mulch, which is coming in here. Now, this area has started to become fantastic for two reasons. The first one is that we put in this amazing soil and then we covered it with mulch. And the second one is sprinkler systems. What that has done is allowed these bananas to grow massive. As you can see, they're loads bigger than when we arrived. And that means they're providing a fairly comprehensive shade. So combined with the sprinklers, it keeps this place perpetually moist and cool, which suddenly means all of our interesting plants have a chance to grow. Now, if you just take a look, where can we find one? Have a little look here. Look, this is a new offshoot coming. There's another one here, look, of Corthalcei, is it? Rhaphidophora Corthalcei, there you go. Rhaphidophora Corthalcei. I think it's Rhaphidophora Corthalcei. Anyway, we got it as garden waste. So we got all of these big bits that someone had trimmed out of their garden. And actually they didn't start growing until we got the watering system in. And now they're shooting all over the place. So we're going to have some very, very cool shingling creepers starting here, which we'll be able to use to put out into other planting landscapes, especially going up things like the coconuts. So that's awesome news. Now, we need to keep covering the ground because look, all here, we've got lots of mulch and there's very little stuff coming up. There's this one little section here where, because the soil is not covered, you've got lots and lots and lots of little things coming up. So we're now going to take these all out. So we're going to take all these little guys out because we know that they're not going to give us any value. We'll put them somewhere where they can't grow. Right. So now we've done that little section, what we're going to do is get some of these waste bananas. So see these bananas? These guys have snapped. So this is no longer providing any value to the banana. So we cut these down. Now this has two effects, obviously. One is that I'm covering exactly the soil that I just cleaned. The second one is a visual one, because it just looks nicer if everything's cleaned up. Now, one little tip with bananas, they don't really like having their leaves cut. So it's not really a good one to be cutting the fresh leaves down for mulch. However, bananas naturally snap their leaves. It's just something that happens. So if you want to cut a leaf, snap it first and then cut it. I can't really tell you why, but for whatever reason, the banana prefers that and it doesn't affect it. So there's one little bizarre trick that we've learnt on the way. So we're now just going to go around and do this with all the banana leaves. Now, banana leaves are great because they're very broad, but they also shrink up very quickly and then start to split. So it's very good to get them layered quite strongly. So these juicy banana stems are full with water. I'm just going to cut this back, mainly because I did it accidentally when I was cutting, but it's going to come up again and it just gives a little bit of space. But these banana stems, just have a look how much water is going to come out of that. You see it's actually dripping here, see? So all of this water, if you put this into your system, it slowly soaks into the ground, which makes it a really brilliant input. Now, for those of you growing aroids, these are the kind of things that you can put in that really, really helps them, because once that breaks down a little bit, the roots of the aroids can go inside, especially things like alocasias or anthuriums, and they have that amazing access to lots of great nutrients and lots of water. Now, while we're down here, we can see there's a little silver cloud coming. We've got these guys, which are these Monoon fragrans. This one got a little bit roasted, but now it's starting to get a little bit better shade. Here, finally, this guy started growing again. Philodendron Selum or Thaumatophyllum something, depending on which names you subscribe to. Now, we had planted it here because it was a little bit brighter. It got brighter light. But now with the growth, it's got less light. That is a plant that doesn't mind getting some light. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Here we've got a lovely one. This is Ficus nervosa. This we can take out. No, that's not doing anything. That's a massive evergreen tree. We've talked to you about it loads. Gets to be like 35 meters. Again, here, look, you can see soil is exposed. Plants are coming. But what are they? I don't know what this is, but this is something different. I do know what this is. This is Lea indica, and that is a brilliant plant. Utterly, utterly brilliant. So this is not a plant we want to take out. And this, I feel like this is Macaranga, potentially, which is one of these trees I've talked to you about loads. It's a pioneer. It has loads of mycorrhizal associations. It's nearly evergreen. So these two are not plants that we want to take out. Neither are they plants that we want to cover. Mostly everything else that I can see is this usual kind of weedy growth. And again, some of these might be valuable, but you know, we can't be too particular about it. So these guys all come out because we know that they're almost certainly not going to give us anything that we really need or want. Oh, look, there's another Lea indica and another Lea indica. Look at that. And another Lea indica. Yes. So this is brilliant news because this is the forest starting to come back. But it's not just the forest, it's a species of plant that provides so much value. Nectar and fruit, primarily. And also it's a host species for many different insects and butterflies and all the rest of it. So bloody brilliant plant. And the fact that we've now created this wet environment means even in the dry season, we have things that are starting to grow. That means all the stuff is growing, and it's not necessarily always good stuff. Lots of invasives are coming up as well, which we need to be maintaining in this time until it becomes more mature. But these are the kind of brilliant signs. Yeah, you can see little crystallinum is coming there. something else is coming there. I don't know what that is. And this monstera is, again, it came from one of the trucks of waste garden material from Clinton. So there's a big old stump in that. This area now, you can see, look, there's tons of space. We need to start getting this space filled. Now, what we have is tons of anthuriums, and many of the anthuriums are not happy because, of course, we lost all of the soil that we had built for this year. And the monsoon is when you have the soil building time. We had, massive trailer loads worth that we had created, and that all stayed in our last place, which means that we don't have the ability to repot any of our plants this year, which means loads of them are really struggling and dying because they need an annual repot. So the only option that we really have, because we don't have any soil and we can't afford to buy the soil that you can buy, and it's not very good anyway. So I think one of the things that we do today is we get a whole bunch of these anthuriums and we just start sticking them into the space. And it becomes like the maddest anthurium garden with a few big things coming through it. So yeah, that sounds like a plan. This is a grass. Grass is one that you can be sure you don't want to have in a system if you're having a kind of foresty system. Now, if you've got lots of shade, it generally isn't a problem. Most grasses can't grow in lots of shade. Some of them can, but they won't grow very strongly. But that's one you can always be sure about. You don't really want it. So just jump down here a second and see this, because here we have some of our absolute beauties. This is a mad fern called Johannisthesmania altifrons. It doesn't grow a trunk, it just all grows from like one great big clump in the ground. And these leaves, this is the first leaf, the first leaf that came out is this size. These leaves become more than 5 or 6 meters. It's an absolutely nuts plant. You can see here one of our absolute favourites. This is Anthurium luxurians. And here again, here we've got a beautiful Anthurium falcatum coming out, which is fantastic to see it doing so well. Then over here we have, what is this fern called, Christina? Again, we'll put the name up. It's a native fern to here. It's a dinosaur plant. It's one of these very, very ancient plants that has survived. It's one of the largest true ferns. It's not a tree fern, it's a true fern. And it's, again, a beautiful native. Now, if we go over here, check this out. I mean, that is damn sexy, isn't it? It really is. Look, here's the new leaf coming. Look at the quality of the variegation on that. I mean, that is absolutely stunning. These are all seed-grown plants of ours. Now, if we go over here, and you can see how much these plants have been struggling. Look at this. It's tragic. But this is the new leaf coming, and the variegation on it is going to be utterly fantastic. You can see there's a little bit of dark there, a little bit coming here, but the majority of this leaf is going to be a beautiful lime green. And if we go over to the next plant, oh my God, look at that. I mean, that's just silly, utterly silly. These are all our own genetics, our own homebred plants, which is awesome. Over here, this guy's been hammered. Look how sad that is. Oh dear. Very sad, because that would have been a nice leaf. But here you can see one of the old ones. This is, again, our own plants. This is one that we're holding back because it has this beautiful, very, very fine vein. And it's super dark, super dark. So we're keeping that one back. It's a shame the new leaf got hammered like it did, but what to do? Background here, this is it's probably the only plant in the world of this. This is an Anthurium subsignatum hybrid cross with our Anthurium magnificum hybrid. And everyone says the subsignatum hybrid is sterile. Evidently it's not, but nearly sterile. Thousands of berries we went through to get that one plant. And it's there, it's doing well. And with a little bit of luck, this has taken, there are berries forming on this. That's now crossed back. So we'll have to see, but hopefully that will come. I also pollinated this with Anthurium nigrolaminum because that was the only pollen that I had available. So let's see what happens with that. That will be very interesting. Over here we've got the Anthurium, what are they called? Formosum, Anthurium formosum, that we had planted in our beautiful rainforest biome and then had to rip out very aggressively from the ground. But you can see they're also doing relatively well. Anyway, one more. This guy, this is a Forgetii dark cross colour blackier from Craft Orchids, Ame. And again, it was looking so brilliant. It got absolutely battered in the move. Yeah, it's just now starting to get a little bit happy. And again, because we haven't been able to repot anything, they're struggling a lot more than they normally would. But they're doing all right. They should be able to survive through to the monsoon as long as we can maintain the coolness and the humidity, because the dry season here is insane, like 40 plus degrees, super low humidity, very, very dry air. As long as they can make it through that April-May period, we should be all good. Of course, the other problem we have is that we can't make the same amount of soil unless or until we get back into a forest area, or unless, I suppose, Clinton brings us lots more garden mulch that we can pile up. I almost overlooked the Monstera obliqua. There's a lovely Monstera obliqua, and you can see how crazy the runners are going. So we're going to have a little look for some of our sad anthuriums, see what we've got going on, what needs planting. That's not doing very well. Let's try one more plant. So I'm just choosing now like the most unhappy anthuriums for now, so that we can get them into the ground. So that is also in need of planting. That definitely needs planting. Look, here's a really good thing. Look, the reason why anthuriums need to be repotted, and the reason why there is a specific type of soil that is used, people call an anthurium mix, is because it needs to be very light and fluffy, because if it's dense, as this one is, it rots. So just take a look at this plant here. Look, it was growing from here and it's just rotten out. A lot of these roots have root rot. Look at that, see? And yet the roots that are right on the top are doing all right because they have air. Now this is an incredibly dense soil because it's been in here since May of last year, nearly a year. This guy really needs repotting, and if you don't repot your anthuriums, you end up with this. Now a happy anthurium should look like this, more or less, you know? And believe it or not, these two are more or less the same age. So make sure you guys repot your plants, because they really don't want to be in the old stuff, and the old stuff tends to get very dense and clayey. So that guy definitely needs to be planted. So we're going to be putting a bunch of these kind of the saddest of the anthuriums in these areas. We'll have to put the smaller ones on edges so that they don't just end up getting covered, and we've got some of these stenanthes that we'll put in as well, because they really just need to get put in the ground. Quick thing about cardboard. Cardboard actually is quite a good mulch, but you have to be really sure that the cardboard doesn't have a plastic lining, and preferably doesn't really have too much ink or printing on it. So you can see here, this is just your completely standard non-lined cardboard. Now this is really useful because it properly covers the soil. Nothing has a chance to grow under here, and it maintains its moisture. You can see, even though there's not that much of the good soil, there are roots and things around here. Now we're going to put a few of these guys in the ground. Let's see what happens. So I'm starting with this one. This is one of the Pedato radiatum cross magnificums. Now just look here, this is exactly what I was saying. You see how thick and clayey this soil is? Looks good like that. It's good, and it's good soil. You can grow many plants in it, but it's too dense. If you can form a ball like this that doesn't just immediately crumble, that is not a good medium for your anthuriums. It's like this because it's nearly a year old, and all of the less degraded organic materials have now turned to soil. Now look at the reality. Root rot. This is proper root rot. This is every anthurium keeper's nightmare. So if you look into here, this root has just about managed, but you can see it's already rotting here as well. This is all gone. So the reason why this plant has survived is because enough of it was not in the soil and the moisture was retained in the air, so it's kind of been able to hang on. And you can see there's one little new leaf coming there, but this top bit is healthy, all of this bottom bit isn't. Is that also? Yeah, even this whole root is rotten, look. Really, really important point for all of you guys growing anthuriums. You need to have really nice fluffy soil. You absolutely can't have your typical soil. So we're now going to put this guy in here. Because the soil that he's coming from is not very good, we're only going to put a little bit of it in, mixed with the other stuff, because the soil that's here is a lot better. Look how fluffy this is. Look, I'm trying to make a ball and it doesn't work. Oh, see the worm? Sorry, buddy. Got him over there. So if I want to try and, you see? This is brilliant material to grow your anthuriums in. So we're now going to put this guy in here, basically just on the surface, you know. We'll then put a little bit of this kind of surface, like the topsoil element, and then we'll get in some of the mulch, and that's job done. Now, we haven't pushed that all the way down, we've left it super fluffy and light. That's only possible because we have a sprinkler system and because we have this amazing mulch topsoil covering. So the moisture is retained, which means that basically the roots stay hydrated, which allows the plant to thrive. So it is going to be a little bit shocked here, but we're going to be turning the sprinkler system on later on, which means it's going to get a good soak and it'll be doing just fine after that. Okay, now this guy, this is the one again with the very kind of clayey soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up a bit, because we know that this isn't really the best soil for it. Make sure that it stays nice and loose. We'll give some over here because it's not bad soil again, like I say. And then we really want all of this lovely moist aerated mulchy goodness to be around the plant so that it has lots and lots of incentive, I suppose, to spread its roots. Gardens are always work in progress. So for us, we're very often planting things actually in the short term, especially right now, because we've just got so many plants that are struggling, and when we get them in the ground, they're happier. So these aren't necessarily going to be the final spot for these plants. They're just areas for now that are going to allow us to make an impact and then adjust a little bit over time as we go along. So we're going to be doing a little bit of work here on the front now. You'll see everything's gone very green, but it's starting to look a little bit messy because a lot of the old plants that are still here from when we moved, so they got very tatty in the move, they're still there. We've had new plants coming up, so it's all about cleaning them up now to make them look a little bit better. You'll see in the before videos or photos that we put that this area was completely open. And so we now have this nice stand. You can see we've got heliconias here. Just come and have a look at the last bit of the ornamental banana. So we've had the spider hunter, the very large hummingbird, sunbird type birds coming every day for that. So it's a really brilliant one for wildlife and it's very beautiful. But yeah, I mean, you can see it's all kind of a little bit messy, but we've got new plants coming. So heliconias, they grow from the kind of main root node and root ball. And that means that the original plants that were moved here from the last place are slowly starting to be superseded by these guys. However, because these old ones are still here, it all looks a little bit messy. So if I cut this out now, look, see? It's a bit kind of shitty looking. Now, of course, we could have kept, actually, let's have a look. No, so you can see inside it's actually rotted. So that section there is where you would have expected the next leaf to come out. So you have this thing where, look, you can see this one I've just taken out from there. This one is coming from in here like this. The next one would have been coming from in here, but you can see if I take this out, it's all rotten and smelly. So actually this plant, we could have left it there for another few months. All it would have done is just rotten down more. Now, of course, if you're having this kind of a heliconia stand right in the corner somewhere, it doesn't really matter because these guys eventually will come over and this will rot back. But because this is directly on our entrance, we want to try and make it look a little bit nice. So things like that will come out. We've got one more here. It's not unhappy. It's just going at a bit of an angle. So I'm going to cut this one out as well. Like so. It's not a bad plant really, to be fair. Sorry, buddy. And then as we always do, everything goes back to the ground because you have to imagine these plants have invested a lot of their time and their effort in growing this. And in doing so, they've got a lot of nutrients. into these leaves. So these nutrients now need to be returned to the soil, because that then gives back to the plant and allows it to grow better. So for now, as you can see, I'm kind of putting them across the ground in such a way that they really cover the soil, because that stops all of the creepers and the vines from coming up. In the next few weeks, they'll all dry up and start getting all crinkly, and they'll end up looking like these tiny little pieces that you can see around here. It ends up then going brown and slowly curling up, but for a couple of weeks it gives us nice cover, which means that the little bits of grass don't come in. Now already you can see, hopefully, this is starting to look a little bit nicer, no? Is it? I can't see from here at the moment. I'll have to take a step back. So if it's already now looking nicer, we can take this leaf from that banana as well. Maybe this leaf. Just snap it first, like that. Yeah, and we can already see it's starting to get a little bit of shape. So I can see there's another kind of not so sexy banana leaf in there. So I'll take that off, because that's also making a little bit of mess. And then you can see, okay, now we're starting to get something that's looking a little bit nicer. And again, this is very early days. I think, what are we in now? Early March, no? Early March, early December.
So we have started planting all the stuff we brought from our last place. And it all looks a bit sad and dead.
It's been planted up maybe 4 months, something like that. And obviously it wasn't planted up with nice, fresh, clean things that had come out of a nursery. It was planted up from all the stuff that we had pulled out 3 months, 4 months, I don't know. Yeah, so they didn't get planted as perfect plants. And now what we're starting to see is the new plants coming up that are really making that impact. So this for me is now starting to look nice. I am going to get rid of this guy as well, since the banana is now also flowering. And you can see behind, look, there's another ornamental banana coming, starting to look a lot nicer. I'm just going to do a little bit more cleaning here, because this leaf for me is not looking so sexy. Very interesting thing, come in here. So heliconia and bananas are kind of in the same family, and they only grow once, right? So they'll grow up, become an adult plant, then they'll flower, and then that stem will die. But because it's coming from those root tubers, it sends out a sucker, and then a new plant will come. So here, this plant is about to come out with a flower, look. So you see the size of this, hang on, we're on the same plant, this leaf. This is quite a large leaf, no? What are we talking about? Maybe 3 foot, 90 centimeters, something like that. This leaf is smaller and thinner. And now the next thing that's coming out is this. Now this is the beginning of the flower. So you can see it's a tiny leaf. And the next thing that will now start coming out is the flower of this. So this one is one, I'm going to take this leaf off because it doesn't look too sexy to me. And it's also going to start showing that flower as it comes out. So it's the same with bananas. When a banana grows up, all of the leaves basically get bigger and bigger and bigger until that final point when the flower comes out. I can't show it so easily here, but we'll find one. Maybe a little bit you can see. Look, see that tiny little leaf? And then you can see that's the last leaf that came out before, and that's the one that came out before that. So if we can just measure those next to each other. You see how that leaf is smaller? So we'll see. Maybe we can show you a few more examples, but that goes for heliconias. It also goes for bananas. Okay, so we've got these colocasia teacups here. You'll see there's a little caladium down there as well. And because of that, we're just going to slightly adjust things here. So this banana leaf is coming over the top of them. We'll take that down. Again, you'll see I always snap them and then cut them, because for whatever reason, bananas prefer that. This, by the way, is a question mark of a banana. We planted it, but we have no idea what it is. I thought it was an ornamental banana, but perhaps it isn't, or perhaps it is, I don't know. We'll let you know in a few weeks. So we've now opened this up a little bit, maybe just this one. Oh no, that's, you see, so this is the flowering one. I'm not going to cut that for now because it's useful for the plant to allow it to maximize its flowering. The cool thing about these colocasia teacups, you can see, look, they hold water. So in the morning, all the dew and the mist collects. There's an even better one. So these also end up getting used as bird baths. The birds find that out, especially the smaller ones, and they can then sit inside and enjoy a nice bath, which is pretty cool. Now, excuse me, Sandra. What did you see? It's a bird, you knob. It's literally a bird. Okay, so we're just going to cut off a couple more of these not so sexy leaves. and get them covering the soil. And I should probably make a note about all of these bags that are here. So these, we've mentioned before that our friend Clinton does all of the waste disposal. And he has a lot of organic material that he doesn't know what to do with. This was one of them. Now, this is a mix of things. We thought it was black pepper, but actually John's general manager, he looked into it and actually he's right. It's not black pepper at all. You've got, at the very least, coriander seeds, and possibly these are something like juniper berries, which means it's likely to be used as a masala or maybe even as a kind of a gin flavouring or a rum flavouring, I don't know. But we have hundreds of bags like this, so we're going to start using this as mulch. So you can also see here in the background all of this grass has come up. That is a negative outcome of putting in the sprinkler system in an area that we haven't yet done the work. Because we haven't got any real shade here, there's nothing really that's inhibiting the grasses, that tiger nut and other things from growing up, which just makes it a great big mess. So we're going to have to slowly work on that, get those things out, and then get bananas planted in this area to provide that brilliant initial shade. Once we have that shade, we can then really nurture the more long-term trees to be coming up. Because in the long run, what we want here is we want to have a high canopy that is providing a good amount of shade to the whole area. But because the canopy is high, of course, the amount of light underneath, it's like a bright indirect light. It's not like a really heavy shade. So with bananas, you kind of have the opposite. You have either really heavy shade if you're right under a banana, or if the light is coming through, then you have direct sunlight. And we kind of want something that's a little bit more balanced than that. So I'm just going to throw this out so you can see what it looks like. Now again, it's a shame we can't bring you smell vision, because it really is a very interesting smell. And of course it's already decomposing. Bit of plastic there to get out. It's decomposing and it's also fermenting, so it kind of smells like alcohol, I guess. But it's not necessarily a bad smell unless you really get to one of the really hot ones. So that I'm going to put around these plants, and we'll see how much of an impact it has. But I think this is going to make really quite a good mulch. So you can see here, this is the section that we've done. There's a few things that we've left for now just because they're flowering or whatever, but these are all the new shoots coming up, and these are all going to start getting really strong, and they have a proper shape because they've grown up here itself. On the left side, you can see where we haven't yet done any work, and it's still all a great big mess. So we're now going to have to come into here and again just prioritize which plants we actually really want to be keeping and which plants we want to get out. So, for example, this guy's a bit of a mess, so we're going to cut him out. And again, you can see it's not a sad plant, it's got a new leaf coming, but it's just a bit of a mess. So we're going to take that one out. This one we're going to take out as well. And this one we're going to take out as well. And then there's a few bananas that need to be sorted. I think we'll keep that one and that one. That one's got a flower coming, so we'll keep that one for now. And we'll just jump round the back. These banana leaves are going to all get cut out. So this is one of the bananas making the biggest mess. This is one of the old bananas that was growing before we put any of the soil in or the sprinkler system. It's actually a really useful one to give you like a visceral example of the impact that the work that we do makes, right? Because if you look at this banana, it is fruiting, it's an adult. Look, you see the fruits there? Here. Yeah. So this is an adult. This banana will not grow any bigger. Now look at the height of it. Obviously it's bent a little bit, and look at the thickness of it, right? Now, its babies, its suckers are this thing standing next to it and this guy. Now these two have grown since we have put in the soil and since we have put in the watering system. And as you can see already, this banana is way, way bigger than its parent banana or its mother banana. And it's not even started fruiting yet. So in just a couple of months, when these guys start giving bananas, we're going to have these proper nice big banana crowns that are, giving you a decent amount of bananas. I'm going to cut this because that is also a very messy addition. Okay, now going to cut a few of these off first, because if these are all on, then as the banana falls, it ends up kind of taking quite a few other things down with it. Right, so now we're going to cut this banana out. Banana flour, by the way. This is something that's actually used in cooking, so this one's a little bit old. But if you peel away the petals, once you get to the softer inside bit, which is here, yeah, these can all be eaten. But this entire section here, once you start getting to the less coloured petals, this can now be sliced up and put into curries or sambars or stews or anything like that. You can see also the sheer quantity of water in this, so there you go. That's the bit you can eat inside there. Anyway, for us it goes down as mulch. Now we have to keep cutting this banana just to get the last of it out of the way. There's another mimosa there, invasive, the touch-me-not plant. Not one we're particularly keen of in this ecosystem, even though it is an awesomely cool plant, it must be said. Right, so that's now gone. One more leaf there to take off. Right, now we can take the main banana. So these, again, they're absolutely full with water, so they're really great additions to the system. So we're going to just cut a little bit more of this banana out. But here's one pro tip, guys. Keep at least 50, 60 centimeters, a couple of foot of the stump there, because that is now going to slowly degrade. It's full with water and different nutrients, and that's all slowly going to work itself back down into the central crown. So the bananas have kind of been designed in such a way that when the main tree fruits, or the main plant, stem, root, fruits, the other babies are already coming. And the nutrients from that plant, the stem and everything else then, will slowly work its way back into the ground and then support its offspring in that direct area, its sucker offspring rather than its seed offspring. So if we only cut part of it and we leave part of it, we allow all those nutrients to go back into the ground, which is always something the plants appreciate. So we've now taken that out and it's starting to look a little bit better. We're just going to remove a couple of these banana leaves because they're also a little bit messy. And now again we're starting to look a little bit better. You can see now there's a few somewhat rubbish leftover stems here. So these guys all need to be cut out. There's another one. This one. And again, kind of the same thing. We don't cut them all the way at the ground because these stumps end up sending nutrients back into the ground, which is, of course, something that the plants like. So we're going to get rid of this one as well. And then we're going to get rid of this one. And again, now you should start having something that looks at least a little bit better. We'll cut this, because that's a bit of a mess. And then you can see you've got the two flowers coming there, right? But again, these are the old plants, so you can see kind of how tatty the leaves are. You know, these were cut off during the move itself. It's then sent out two more. Again, look at the size difference. Big leaf, small leaf. After the small leaf, the flower comes. I'm going to take that out just because it allows us to see the flower nicer. And then I see here now there's a few more there. Now these plants used to live in quite a shady place in our last forest, and now they've got quite a sunny place, so they're having to kind of readjust and adapt. Generally, heliconias can survive in very high light environments, although they do benefit from having bright indirect light rather than direct sunlight. Nonetheless, at least starting to take a little bit of shape. Get rid of a few more of these shitty leaves. And of course, with heliconias, you don't mind being a bit aggressive with them, because even if one plant ends up dying back, you know you've got others coming. So that's now starting to look a little bit better. Maybe just do away with this last kind of rogue. All right, and then they now have a little bit more space to begin taking shape. Again, on this side, that's all looking a lot better as well. This is looking a little bit rubbish, so that can come out. All right, that's definitely a step in the right direction, I think. So that's all for today, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. As always, it's been great to have you along. I hope it's been helpful. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. See you soon.